since probably about January 20th, we've been trying to get our next guest on Amber Live. Finally, we get to bring in Jen Ellis, who was the person who made Bernie's Mittens famous. All right, Jen, come on in. Hi, Jen.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, Jen. Who knew? Who knew? My goodness. So, little backstory. Back in 2016, 4 years ago, why did you send Bernie some mittens?
I wanted to. I just felt like it. I like him. I voted for him. And I was disappointed that he didn't win the Democratic nomination. So I felt like sending him some mittens, and I did.
And, what amazes me is who can keep both mittens for 4 years? I mean, I lose mine going to the mailbox.
Yes, that's definitely one of his true talents.
All right. So he wore them not just on Inauguration Day, but he had worn them all during the campaign as well. How did it feel when you saw him wearing those, just being Bernie?
I mean, it felt awesome. I've never met him, and I've always admired him. And so if you give someone a random gift and then they start wearing it in a really public way, that feels pretty good. So yeah, that happened about a year ago. He started wearing them, and at the time I had some mittens for sale, so I sold some, and now I don't really make them anymore, but they're really famous now.
So how did you get started making the mittens?
I started with a friend of mine. We were just tooling around, and we had a pattern, and we make them out of wool sweaters. So we found some old wool sweaters. I have some right here, actually. Oops. And we cut them up and pieced them together, and that was that. A lot of people say that I'm really good at knitting, but actually I don't knit. I just cut up sweaters that somebody else knit.
Well, so how many years have you been doing that?
Maybe like 10.
Really? And what did you do with them? How did you sell them, or were they just gifts?
Yeah, at first we sold them at craft fairs and at some craft stores. And then, and I've given them as gifts. Mostly I've just given them as gifts. It was a little side hustle for a little while, but now I'm a mom and I'm busy, and I just haven't, I don't really have time for it. However, if people want the mittens, they can get them from the Vermont Teddy Bear Company, because I have partnered with them to make the mittens, because they actually have time to do it. And they have big industrial sewing machines and a whole staff. So they're working on getting the materials, and very soon they're going to launch the mittens, the exact same ones that I made for Bernie Sanders.
Oh,
you can go and get mittens and a teddy bear. I mean, when?
How exciting. All right, so January 20th, there's Bernie sitting there. Classic Bernie.
Yeah.
I like the one saying was, I'm going to the inauguration today, but it's not the only place I'm going.
Right, yeah. People are calling him Grumpy Chic.
But it's Bernie. So how soon did you realize something was happening?
Oh, right away. I mean, people started texting me right away. And I'm a teacher, and I was teaching that day. It was a remote learning day. And so I was sitting alone in my classroom. There was a huge snowstorm outside. And all of a sudden, my phone just started dinging. And eventually I looked at it, and there was probably 10 texts from people like, guess what? Bernie is wearing your mittens at the inauguration. And so that was actually a half day, and I came home early and was able to see the inauguration at home with my family. It was a party for us. I mean, we were so excited. We got cupcakes, we had fondue. It was a pretty big holiday for us.
So then your friends noticed, but when the memes started instantly.
Yeah, people are fast.
And so I'm sure you got a few chuckles out of those as well. But
absolutely.
When did people start reaching out to you, the people you don't know? Or how did they track you down?
Right away, before the inauguration was even over. Because when that stuff happened a year ago, I went on to Twitter and I provided my email, and I was like, hey, if you want some mittens, I have some for sale. And there was somebody on Twitter reposted that as if it was current news. So, people need to look at the date there. It was about a year old. And a lot of people were like, well, you said you have mittens for sale. Where are they? And I didn't. So that's why I partnered with the Vermont Teddy Bear Company so that people could get their mittens.
So of all the memes, did you have a favorite one of any of them?
Well, a friend of mine made a meme for me at my request of Downton Abbey of the Dowager Countess sitting with Bernie Sanders. And I have to say that's my favorite one. But my second favorite is probably one that came out kind of recently of Bernie sitting on Saturn, one of Saturn's rings. That was pretty good.
Well, I had to get into the act as well. So, Russell, let's show that one. there I am sitting with Bernie, saying, Bernie, I thought it'd be you being sworn in. Me too, Amber. Me too.
That's really good.
It was a lot of fun. So since then, after where were you interviewed? Who you can name drop. You can name drop.
I mean, okay, well, Ari Shapiro interviewed me. Love him. And MSNBC, Katie K in Europe or in England.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Well, that is so exciting. So, it wasn't just a one-off. And you said, okay, I did that. I'm famous, blah, blah, blah. You've done a lot of good with your infamy as well. So tell us something about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, when this happened, I have a job. I have a really good job. I'm a second grade teacher, and I couldn't drop everything to pursue the mitten thing. But I had some sweaters hanging around, so I made a few more pairs of mittens. One I donated to Passion for Paws, a dog rescue here in the area in Vermont, and they auctioned it off on eBay, and I think they made around $3,800. And then I donated one to Outright Vermont, and they harnessed that donation like no other. So I know we're going to talk about that a little bit more later. And I've donated one to, there's a raffle going on right now for Steps to End Domestic Violence. There you go. That ends on, let's say, St. Patrick's Day. So if you want to win those mittens, you can go to that website and get yourself a raffle ticket.
All right. I think we have a video of you doing some sewing. Let's watch that. So that's a singer. Maybe you can get a new sewing machine out of it.
You know what? They already sent me a new sewing machine. Yeah, I did a little singer. I did a little like my singer story for them, and that's also on YouTube where they interviewed me. But that thing I was sewing actually is a quilt that I made for my friend Courtney, who works at Darn Tough Socks, and she's a new friend. This is one of the greatest things that's happened out of this is I've made some awesome new friends. And Courtney at Darn Tough Socks, if you're watching, you're an awesome friend. And that what you just saw is me sewing part of a blanket for her new baby. She's expecting a baby, and so I sewed her a quilt made out of wool squares, the same sort of stuff I would use to make the mittens. I just made a quilt instead.
Wow. So talk about Darn Tough Socks. Didn't you do something with them as well?
Absolutely. So they got on the ball right away, and they designed a generosity sock, which they called it Jen, generosity. And it was based on the Bernie's mitten, and it sold out within a day. I mean, it was basically overnight. And all of the proceeds went to the Vermont Food Bank. So it was an enormous fundraiser, and they converted how much they made into meals, and it was somewhere around I don't know the exact amount. It was like 250,000 meals or something like that. It
And
was
then
probably a little
Bernie,
more than that.
and then Bernie sold T-shirts and paraphernalia with that image of him and your
Yeah.
mittens, and raised over $1 million.
Almost 2 million. No, almost $2 million. He called me on the phone. He called me.
Jen,
And
I want to talk to you.
yeah, it was like that. I was like, you're famous and I love you. But no, he called me to tell me that they had raised almost $2 million for Meals on Wheels and I think a couple of other organizations.
Yeah.
So that was just amazing.
Oh my! What a great story! Not a Vermont story. It really is a Vermont story. All right, so let's bring Dana Kaplan, who's the executive director of Outright Vermont. Hi, Dana. All right, Dana, can you give us a description of what Outright is or does?
Dana's on mute.
Okay. You are a teacher, aren't you, Jen?
Yes. There you go, Dana.
Rookie move here, huh? You would haven't been Zooming for the last year. Thanks for looking out, Jen. So Outright is Vermont's LGBTQ youth-facing organization. So we work across the state to make sure that LGBTQ youth have hope, equity, and power. We run a week-long summer camp that we are now able to do 2 weeks of for the first time, and that was some of the money from Jen's Mittens actually went to support that camp program. We have social support programs for kids and families. We do trainings with teachers and educators, help to advise lawmakers, and really just look at, there's the website there, really just look at the ways that we can help to shift culture so that LGBTQ youth have everything that they need to live their best lives.
And how long has Outright been around? It's been a while.
This is year 33. Yeah, we're sort of moving from, we're moving into that sort of, young adult stage, I guess. We're getting serious about who we are and laying some foundations for the future. And, the same thing that, the organization was started when a bunch of community members saw the youth risk behavior survey data in Vermont that really showed the health disparities that youth are facing compared to their heterosexual and cisgender peers. And unfortunately, if you look at that data today, it's quite similar. So sort of the arc of how we came to be and what we're up to today has remained. But we're trying to find creative and bold ways to shake things up here.
Well, very good. So, Jen, you donated a pair of your mittens for an was it an auction, an online auction, or how did that come about?
Well, I said you can have a pair of mittens, go for it, and boy did they. Dana, what did you guys do?
Well, yeah, we got a call from Ellen Anderson, one of our board members, who said, any interest in trying to do something with a pair of Jen Ellis mittens? She's interested in giving them to you if you want them. This was like a Saturday mid-morning. And so talk about phones blowing up. I quickly turned to the rest of the board and said, of course we have to say yes. What do we do? Our development director was on vacation. I was like, I don't know how to put together an auction. We got to get everything online. We got to do this whole thing. And it really just took off with a lot of hard work for about 24 hours, but just a beautiful moment that Jen saw and took and said, let's really create some amazing impact here. So beyond our wildest dreams, So,
and how much was raised?
Over $40,000.
$40,000.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Incredible. Really, really.
Yeah, because I was going to be on MSNBC the next day. And so I was like, try and get this together quickly so that I can announce it on MSNBC. And they did. They were so great. They set up a web page. So if you couldn't bid on the mittens, you could just make a donation. All my siblings went on and made donations, my parents. It was pretty cool. And then other people donated things to be also auctioned off.
Right.
And then you had a match grant.
What ultimately happened was the person who bid, there was like a bidding war happening between two folks. And the person who won the mittens turned around in an unprecedented moment and said, you know what? You take them back. I'm donating them back. Sell them again. And so it was just this beautiful moment of like, what else can we do? What else can we do? And in coming off of this year that has just been excruciating for all of us in the best of circumstances, it really felt like a way to say, F you to COVID, and youth are awesome, and we are here, and we're going to celebrate. And, I remember getting a message from a youth who was like, that was me on the Bernie meme that I saw for the Mittens. Like, for youth to feel so excited and seen in a way with just such positive regard is really such important medicine. So we're thrilled about the whole thing. It's just a trip.
Of course. So, Jen, what's your next step? Where are you taking this?
Well, I'm writing a book right now, and I have an amazing agent in New York City, and he's pitching it to publishers.
An agent? Okay, hold on. An agent?
Yeah, like a book agent. This is how now I'm learning a lot about writing books here. It's a memoir. It's kind of about the last 10 years of my life, because I existed before I made the mittens for Bernie. And it's about all kinds of things in my life, my early marriage to my partner Liz, and how we conceived our daughter, and how I got into the mitten thing, and all of the amazing things that have happened in my life because of making mittens. It's really been a game changer for me. And who knew? I make the mittens out of sweaters that have moth holes in them and otherwise would be thrown in the trash.
And you don't call them mittens. What do you call them?
I used to call them swittens, but now I'm just calling them Vermont mittens, and they're being sold, from Vermont teddy bears. So we changed the name, and actually I like to just call them Bernie's mittens, because that gains a lot of traction. So yeah, people can look out for my memoir. I don't know who's going to publish it, but hopefully somebody soon.
Do you have a title? Do you have a title?
I'm working on, I think it's going to be called Generosity Brings Joy. That's the name of my project. No, I spelled it correctly. But there's my website, generositybringsjoy.com. So you can go there and learn all about the fundraisers I'm doing and the companies that I'm partnering with. In fact, there's a partnership happening right now with Mansfield Maple. They're just about to announce that they're doing a run of 1,000 bottles of maple syrup, and it's going to benefit Camp Tecumseh. So this is going to be huge. They have an amazing label, and I think that's going to probably start on Friday. But so that's just like, an insider's tip to anybody who's listening. That's going to go fast.
We've had representatives from Camp Tecumseh on the show. Yes, very good.
Yeah, this is a camp for kids living with cancer.
Yes. Dana, I can't let you leave without asking you about the Smittens. Where are what's going on with the Smittens?
Everybody's just, old and hanging out on Zoom, really. The Smittens is an indie pop band that I'm in. So you say Smittens is a whole thing. The Smittens, one of our folks is in Brooklyn, Lower East Side. The rest of us are here in Vermont. We're writing some songs, and at some point, hopefully in the next 6 months or so, we'll be able to play some shows. So still going.
Oh my gosh. How long have the Smittens been around?
Oh gosh. Over
a long time.
Yeah, a while. Yep. Yeah.
And you've traveled the world with them, and
I think we're in the UK.
The theme.
We are here, but.
The theme song to Stuck in Vermont too. So, Ava's been on the show as well. So it's a small Vermont world here. Yeah. Thank you both so much. How entertaining! Just a feel good story. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.